Hi, I'm Dave Gallagher from AnimSchool, and I'm going to give you a tour of our new Malcolm 2.0. The first thing you want to do is reference the character in. Don't open them, reference them in. You can get the character and the picker from our website, animschool.com. And once you have that on the hard drive, just go to your File, Create Reference, and then you want to find the Malcolm V200 or whatever the current file name is. And you want to make sure that you have used namespaces on, and you want to use that namespace as the file name for the namespace. And so once you have that, you reference that in. That'll come in. This Malcolm is a whole lot bigger a file size than the last one because of all the outfits we're including. Now once it comes in, you'll get something like this. You don't really need to see all these things. We're seeing joints, the X-ray, we're seeing the joints, we're seeing the follicles where things connect. We don't need to see all this. So the first thing we do is come in here to show, and then I'll just tear this off. We can actually hide everything except for the polygons and maybe the nerves curves. You can show the rest, but it's not really necessary. You can use Malcolm just like this if you want, just highlighting or selecting the curves and using them. Most people don't, though. Most people use our AnimSchool Picker program. The Picker plugin for Maya is really spectacular and used by lots and lots of people and even lots of studios. So go to our website, animschool.com, download the Picker and follow the installation instructions, and then you'll be able to load it up. And when you click on it, it loads up here, and we're gonna just open up the pickers for Malcolm. Before I do that, I just want to make sure everyone knows that you can use this for your own things as well. All you have to do is select on any item, whether it's a rig or what have you, and you can make buttons for it, and you can create a new picker tab for your productions, for your characters, for even companies can use it. There are terms of use you want to read about those, but let's go ahead and load up Malcolm's. So I'll come to the place I've got it saved and grab his body, his face, and his outfits. I'll load those up, and when it comes up, it'll ask you to connect it to a namespace of the character. By default, it'll probably connect it up right, which is it's looking for Malcolm V200. It'll probably find it and connect it up fine. This file has some issue where it had something else into the picker, and so it's asking a second one. That probably won't be the case in yours, but you can just leave it, or you can set it to Malcolm 200 V2. All right, we're gonna need to do the same thing for the other ones as well. Once we do that, we can see that we've got 3 pickers here, and one for the face, one for the body, one for the outfits. And what this is ability to pick things, number one, but also the ability to see what you have selected in the interface. So if we drag over here in Maya, we'll see which things we have selected. By default, when you go to select the geometry in the Maya, it won't select it. Most of the time, we leave that layer as referenced. So if you come over here, though, you can toggle it. See Malcolm V2 layer geo. You can just set that to show or what have you. So most of the time, you won't be able to select it. There's a couple times where you want to select it, but by default, you don't want to. So this is a great way of sort of being able to select everything and being able to use the features. It's not just selecting things, it's also using features. So you can key everything, you can select everything. You can do things like, so I can set a pose and then mirror that pose to the other side. I can select the other side, sort of go back and forth between the sides, mirror the poses, switch from IK to FK and things like that. So it's important to use the picker for Malcolm too, because he's got so many features. On the face, he basically has a really wide picker. So this is very wide, and you normally wouldn't use it like this because it would take your whole screen. You can move it onto another monitor if you have two, or you can collapse it to the standard length and then just use your Alt key, just like you're in mine. It has the same navigation keys of scrolling in and out and using the middle, Alt and middle to get around. And if you hit the H button, it goes back to the default. So you can move around like that. But with these wide pickers, you really only need to use them while you're setting up your scene, right? Because you're switching outfits and you're switching hair and that sort of thing. Okay, so let's give an idea of the different options that he has. The standard hair is the first one. You can switch to the kind of that wavy hair, and then he has these sequence of hair styles. Each one of them is rigged, and you can see that some of them are rigged quite a bit with lots and lots of controls. He has a few beard types. And these hairs you can also use, and they're sort of connected to one of the outfit styles. Each one of these on the bottom half, okay? And so those are those, and you can select their all the controls for all those hairs right here in each of these. Nice thing is when you go to select all, it will normally select just the controls for the hair that you have showing. So for instance, let's go to hair F, and then we're going to hit all again. It will highlight just the controls for this hairstyle we have showing. The hair over here is the ones for the wavy style. These buttons over here for that one. The outfits are somewhat similar. Basically, you can click on each of these viz, go over this tab and hit these buttons here, and that will toggle the different styles. And you just expand this here to find the rest of the styles. So we've got full outfits that we can switch out. And you notice that it's not really connected to the hair. The hair is separate, so you can come back to the face and switch. Say we've got the worker hair, and we switch to that. And maybe we'll turn off the mustache. Turn on the worker beard. Okay, so now we've got the full worker outfit. It's not just the outfit, but it's also got the hair associated with it. Over here on the cowboy, this is just for to the people who backed the crowdfunding for Malcolm 2.0, or for students. So if you want to get the full outfit for the cowboy and the scientist, you can become a student. Now we did include some parts of those outfits because they were fun to mix and match. So you do get partial access to those outfits. The public gets those. So that's a good thing. These outfits are also, like I said, mix and match. So what we can do is come over. If you click it twice, it'll toggle it off, and we can just select different parts of different outfits, and they will they may intersect. They may work well together, and there are different ways of dealing with that. So let's see. So I could select the pants from one outfit and the shirt from another, say. And you can mix and match those. These buttons all in here are to control those outfits specifically. So if I move the ones on this right now, nothing will happen because they're associated with that other outfit. So if we go back to greaser, then they'll work. And all these buttons are for those parts of these specific outfits. All right, and once I've decided on a hairstyle and an outfit, you don't really need to use those again, and so we can collapse this back to smaller, and we can come over here to the default. I'll hit H to go to the default. So once we have the picker up and running, it's really easy to then manipulate the character. The main thing you want to animate first is this thing called body, and that's sort of his center of gravity, right? and then we have a gimbal below that. So that's if you get into a gimbal situation where you've tilted them 90 degrees, and for that I'll go to gimbal mode. You say you've tilted them 90 degrees it looks like we're gonna have to go to Y, and then if you turn them 90 degrees, then he'll gimbal out. Then we won't be able to access this way right here very easily. So that's when you want to use a gimbal. Same thing on the arms. Okay, so this is when you would use that gimbal control. I'm going to go back to local. That's the main control. We have good IK controls and IK FK switching controls, but there are a few controls you need to know about. So one of them is that you can roll the foot, so use the foot roll attribute. It'll sort of tip off the front or the back. And then off of that you've got the heel press, which kind of shoves the foot down and bends the foot. And then on the other side you've got the toe raise. So if we roll the toe this way, we've got the toe raise to push it off. Okay, first it flattens it and then it pushes it off. Those are some ways of interacting with it, having the foot interact with the ground. We've also got cool things like the toe squash, which flattens it out, gives that feeling of pressure against the ground, and the back of the toe does the same thing with this toe squash or the heel squash. Heel squash and toe squash show that pressure. With IK you can go straight, right, and you can bend the leg. What you can't do is go the other way, so bend it backwards. So there's this attribute called hyperextend, which will make it bend backwards. You might think, why would we ever want to do that? Well, sometimes when you stand up, you have a slightly exaggerated bend on your leg. So that's to get that. Knee roll is to turn the knee. The other way is to grab the IK controller out here and rotate the knee that way. The leg length is to stretch either the bottom or the top. It will do that automatically if you have certain things on. So by default it's on, and it will stretch the leg, but it won't stretch it, of course, as you go bend down, because you want the knee to bend. But when you go further, it can stretch it if you want. That's the IK, or the auto stretch feature. You can turn that off, and then it won't stretch anymore. It'll just point to the location of that foot control. When you use auto stretch and you switch to FK, it's important to turn auto stretch off, because it will keep it stretched, and it'll be hard to use it, because it will stretch based on the distance here. So you want to turn, when you go to FK, you want to turn off auto stretch as well as the IK, or else you'll get that problem. Smooth cuff, that's for the old Malcolm. It doesn't do anything on this rig. We'll probably take that out. And then there's tilt, which goes sideways. Now, more than that, you've got the ability to do to move the foot in all different ways. Like, for instance, rather than a foot roll, you could also use just the control itself to rotate around the ankle, and then you have different controls to move to interact with the foot. So so note that the FK doesn't work right now because it's not on. So that's one control down here. There's one called the ball. That's this control right here. That's to pivot off of the ball. It's kind of like I'll go back to the flat version here. It's kind of like the foot roll, except you can't push off the toes. It's just sort of a manual thing. But what's good about it is you can also go sort of sideways. Okay, you can sort of tilt it, create different kinds of pivoting effects. And then the ones right here are for the toe. And it looks like we need to add that to the picker. So some things about the toes have changed. So I'll go to the outfits here and turn his shoe off. Now he has toes that you can control with these. But because those have changed, then this needs to be added to the picker. But do that by the time you see this. And these are all individually controllable here. When you do turn on the shoes and lots of other outfits and outfit parts, certain things happen to the rig. So the toes look normal right now, but if I go to sort of X-ray mode and then I turn on that shoe again, and by the way, the default shoes are from the greaser, so we're going to turn that on. So look what happens to the feet when you turn those on. They actually squash up. You see how they sort of get all crushed, and that I can make this a little clearer by hiding the shoes in the sort of the raw control right here. So we'll go to greaser shoes, which are right here, shoes visibility. So this is what the toes look like and then the feet look like when they're shoved into shoes. They actually get squashed so they'll fit in properly. The best way to turn on and off outfits is using the picker. You can also just go to this control right here. The round one at the bottom is called placement, because that's mainly to place him in the scene and give him an orientation. You can also go and you can manually turn on things, the visibility of things. The problem with that is certain attributes get set automatically when you do this with a picker, but not when you just use the attributes in here. But it's good. This gives you access to other things. For instance, if something were to intersect with his body, you can do things like you can come down to the bottom here and see it says T-shirt on push body, and that actually scrunches in everything that's underneath the T-shirt so that you don't have intersections. Or if you're wearing the long shirt, you might want to use this attribute, and it squashes the whole body in so that it doesn't intersect with the T-shirt. So the part that's hidden gets kind of hidden further. Jacket on push greaser shirt. Sometimes the shirt might intersect with the body here, so if I use the shoulders in certain poses, it might get an intersection with the body. So if that happens, you can come over to the placement and go to the bottom, and you can do jacket on push greaser shirt, and that will suck it in, but only underneath the jacket. See how that's happening? So there are some controls on here that you might want to use. Another thing that we didn't have before in Malcolm 1.0 is the ability to thicken his neck if you want. Give him a little more muscular look. You can do that. That's only available in this, selecting this placement attribute. So there are a couple of things hidden here. Most of these things are visibility controls, but some of them are not. Some of them are to push things out of the way. For instance, this cowboy boots one. Again, this is used automatically, but if you want to do it manually, you can do it here as well. If you want to switch between IK and FK on the leg, then you select the IK control and you just turn it to FK. So now I'm in FK mode, and I use the controls labeled FK to move the feet. If you want to switch between the IK and the FK and then have it not move, see I'm doing this, I'm dragging left and right with the middle mouse. But if I wanted to jump and snap over to that, so say I wanted the IK to match the FK, then I'm now in FK, I'm going to IK, so I do FK to IK, I click that, and then it moves it over there. Sometimes it doesn't do a perfect job, but it matched it somewhat closely. In order to get the leg in that place, it actually takes the pull vector and puts it exactly over the knee. The danger over that is that then if you move it just slightly, it might flip. So then a lot of times you want to take that and just kind of move it slightly back, or forward rather. So here we have the IK version of that pose we did. Or if I want to go back to FK, then say I've got the FK over here, and now I'm in IK. I want to go to FK, so I'm going to click this one, and then it's going to let's see, I'm in IK, and I want the FK to match this pose now. So I'm going IK to FK, and see that the FK matches it. If it ever twists and gets confused, we're working on these scripts, so there may be times when something flips. Then you might want to manually match up. So sometimes, especially when you're using the foot roll, it can't do a perfect match. All right, so I'll go back to IK. Those are some of the features of the IK leg. Other features on the leg are to bend the shape of the leg, so we can go sort of bend the leg so that you get a different line of action. You can do a little bit. If you do it a lot, then it gets too rubbery, so you want to use it very carefully. There are two around the knee, and that's because you can rotate these. The ones in the middle are designed to be translated. The ones around the knee and on the ends are designed to be rotated. You could also translate them, but they're not designed to be used that way. The ones in the middle can be rotated if you want, but mostly they're designed to do this. And these down here are controls for the pants. That's a lot of the leg features. As we go up the spine, we see that there's one spine 1 and 2, and then a chest 1 and 2. Those are along there. They're just like Malcolm 1.0. And also the purple ones are for volume controls. So if we scale them, they're mainly designed to be scaled. Then we can do things like breathe. And if your spine were to stretch or contract, you could increase the scale to get volume retention. And this one is especially good for breathing in conjunction with a little bit of this one and maybe the one below. You can use all the controls together with this that spine, sort of the most common ones with this plus right here. And then you can use all three together at the same time. You can make your own plus buttons or sort of group buttons very easily. Just say you want to maybe not just these three, but you want to add this one. That's no problem. You just come over to somewhere where there's an empty space and say add a button, and then you get a new button, and you can actually label that and say, you know, this is maybe the spine. Whoop! Oh, so I did a mistake on the picker. If you whatever you have highlighted will get those changes. So I'm going to undo. I'm going to select the picker and undo, and get those back the way we were. So instead of doing that to label it, I'm going to control click just on that button. So that's now the only thing that's white or highlighted. And then when I make that change, it'll only change that one. So I can make a button with the things, you know, certain selections that I want, and that way I don't have to come in every time and select those. If I want the knee to follow the body, then I can use this W and the H control. So the knee can follow the hips or follow the body. So let's see. Right now it's following the world, and but if I click on the hips, that's the H, then it will now be fully attached to the orientation of the body. See how this one is different now? So anytime I can go and switch that. Same with the arms. But this refers to the IK controls. With the hands, these are laid out so that this is the sort of the index finger, because it's actually flipped over like this, with the thumb on the one side. Malcolm 2.0's hands are re-rigged. Well, it's all sort of re-rigged, but the thumb is now oriented better, so for better grasping, better clenching of a fist. Previously the rotation was a little too much, so that it was too opposing of the palm, and it was difficult to get some poses in the hands. A lot of those same things apply to the arm as I showed in the leg. FK controls, the purple ones in between. Each one of those is scalable. It's an interesting thing to note about the Malcolm rigs and the AnimSchool rigs is that most of the things are scalable individually and all together, and that gives you the ability to sort of create new effects. Like you can get a whole lot more muscular if you just come in here to these purple controls and just scale them. And you can just scale them only in X and Z and not in Y, and that will give you, then it won't stretch lengthwise. So you have lots of opportunities for rig customization, which people use on the Malcolm rig. If you select these pluses on the side, that grabs everything on that arm. That's good for setting keyframes on the arm as a whole. And this one is to grab all the hand, all the fingers. And this one over here is for the hand, but it's only a rotation control, and this is to move, it's sort of to drag and give curvature to the palm itself, and have all the fingers kind of follow. It just distributes the fingers along that curve of that you make on the palm. That's that control right here. Each one of these main controls has a little gimbal control next to it. See, it's a little one that's next to it, and that's if you get into a gimbal lock. Whatever your workflow is for dealing with gimbal lock, you can always go to that sub control if you want, and then have it there for sort of fresh rotation values. The most important of those is the arm. So when you rotate the arm, you can get very quickly into gimbal situations. So that's the most important one, is this one right here. When you bring in the Malcolm rig, it's his arm is automatically set to his body, but you can change that so that it's orientationally separate from the body by coming into that FK control and doing orient to placement. Now it's going to orient to that sort of overall node I showed called placement. And what it does is, instead of as you rotate them, or as you rotate the body, the arm doesn't reorient. So that's useful if the shot that you're working on has a sort of more of an acting shot and it's more contained. Then you might want the arm to not change every time you change the body. If that's what you're looking for, you can do that. When you do that, though, it doesn't reorient to sort of nothing. It reorients to this control right here, this one with an O on it called orient. So you can actually set this one to be a different orientation if you want. So it actually sets it to that control. It's still animatable by both the FK control and then sort of as the base, this orient control. The Malcolm 2.0's shoulders are more robust. Could probably show that hiding the outfit here. So out of the gate, they rotate better. They don't flip quite as easily as in the previous version. You'll notice that his arms are oriented slightly up in that V pose instead of straight down. If you want to load in old animation that has the arm down, you can certainly do that. It should work if you turn on that orient to come over here, orient to placement, turn it on, and then you might have to reorient that O control possibly to get it to be down. Once you do that, you might be able to perfectly match old Malcolm animations. If you turn it off, then this is sort of the new let's turn it off over here. The new orientation, that makes the deformations a little bit nicer. But if you go higher than sort of the shoulder line, then it starts looking weird, and that's because you definitely want to start using the shoulder control, which is also not a primarily a translation control. It's a rotation control. So you rotate that up, and that should fill in that space pretty nicely. So you can shrug it, of course, without the arm being up, and just use it for shrugs. But if you use the arm too high, it'll start to look strange without lifting the shoulder with it. The shoulders are designed to have a wide range of motion. They can go very high. They can go even higher if you switch to translation. and then just keep cranking them. So you can do some pretty crazy pose ranges with those shoulders. There's also these sub ones here called shoulder rot, and that's just a pure rotation. Shoulders are more than just rotation. And so Malcolm's shoulders, when you rotate them, they're doing more than rotate. They're rotating and they're translating. But if you ever wanted to just rotate, sort of the raw control is right here. Now going back to the IK arms, let's go ahead and turn the IK back on. Sometimes you want the IK to follow similarly different things. So right now it's just following the world space, but sometimes you might want it to follow different things. Like, so it's now in this W setting, we might want it to follow the body. So if I click that, then it's going to follow the body. And but then if I use say other parts of the rig, it's not going to follow those. Or sometimes I might want it to follow the chest. That's what the C is. So if I click on C, it's going to follow the chest. And so those are three different options for having the IK sort of inherit those rotations and translations. If you ever wanted to animate between those, sometimes we get that question, how do I animate between those? That isn't really exposed, but what you can do is if you come in, select that IK, and then you come over here and go up 2 times with your arrow, you'll get to this group 1 arm IK left, and you'll see these 3 attributes right here. Right now they're just switched automatically, or they're switched by the script when you click those buttons, but you could also key these. If I just come over here and key selected, I could key the chest on, and if I wanted to key it to switch to the placement on the body, you can do that manually. It's not built in to the rig, but you can certainly do that just by coming over here, going up twice, whoops, going up twice, not in the picker, but click over here, middle click in the interface, and go up twice in the rig. Then you'll see these, and if you want, you can add a button over here for that. Now we've got this button over here. You could access those features. Like I said, his neck can be different sizes, right? We want to come back in and gonna turn it back off again for the default. His upper chest control is not a real anatomical thing. It's just to shape the body a little bit more, because the chest is sort of low down here, and it may be that you want to shape the back a little bit, or the start of the neck. The next one is the actual base of the neck, and then we have one for the middle of the neck. There is a control for his Adam's apple now, and oh, actually I was thinking of Giacomo, one of our newer rigs, but we'll have to get that added in. So going to the buttons at the upper right here, you see that we can toggle all the controls. This should turn all or most of them off, and then you can toggle them back on again. If you hit the most button, then the sort of the smaller, less used ones disappear. They're still, of course, usable, but they don't show in the interface. And you can go to basic, which will hide, all but sort of the most commonly used ones. And we can go to all on, which toggles them all on again. The hair isn't really used very much anymore because there's not just the one hairstyle, but many hairstyles. So you toggle them in the Malcolm face picker, not with this button. Similarly over here, you can key everything, or you can select everything if you want to key it all here, or you can hit the key button and that keys it for you. But selecting is good too, because then you can see what exactly is selected and what exactly is being keyed. I'm just going to close this untitled one. And you can key those. So if you want to select most, it will select part of them, basic, and then just the body. So these are ones that select sets, and you can also select your own. So you can select whichever parts you want and create a new button. If you want, say, now I have a new button that is my selection set or my keyable set. You can do that if you want. You can reset, so if I were to want to get this arm back down over here, I could say reset, and that'll return it to 0. And if you have some attribute used, and you can reset plus the adder, and that will reset everything plus the attributes will go back to 0. Done. And now with that, I think we'll move on to the face. One more thing about the outfits, though, first is let's say you turn on an outfit and you're getting collisions. Say maybe you turn off the jacket and well, this shirt now is that's the attribute we put in earlier, so that's why that's intersecting. But let's say like this one is intersecting with the suspenders or something. I don't know why you'd want to use these two together, but say you wanted to somehow do this. Well, there are those attributes I showed you in the placement node, but also you can sort of manually move things. We've made sure to move up the tweak node in the hierarchy of operators for each of those. So see, tweak is on top. That means it comes last, and you can actually go ahead and select this and move it. Okay, so whatever you put in here gets stored into that tweak node, and so you can make changes. And so if you're getting an intersection, you might find that well, first I'm going to smooth this here. You might find that you want to move those points. Maybe it intersects just in certain poses. You can find a pose here where it's going to misbehave. Well, let's say it misbehaves in that pose. So there's a couple things we can do. This is actually intersecting with the skin, not the suspenders, but we can go ahead and whatever we move here is going to get put into that tweak node, and because it's at the top, that it will still have effect. Now, so we could just leave it like that, and so then we fixed our problem. But when we go back to the 0, it's still moved. Those points are still moved. In this case, it doesn't really matter that much. It hasn't really screwed anything up, but sometimes you'll make those changes and it will screw something up. And if you come over here to tweak and you turn off that envelope of the tweak, you'll see that change you made is this to this. So one thing you could do is if you know which points you moved, and one good way to keep track of them is to whenever you move them is to come in here to the picker and keep track of that. So you can come and add a button for it. And oh, I happen to have this FK label selected, so I'm just going to select that, turn that off. So this now represents, or this will get you that points set. So the picker is not only for controls, it's also for components like points, polygons, edges, those kinds of things. So now we know, or we have a quick way of sort of getting to those points again. And if I come over here to click to show CVs, see, I can see all these points, and if I zero them out, see, it actually moves them back to their pre-changed location. So what I'm going to show you now is how to keyframe those. So let's say you're on you're on the second frame, and on this one, that whatever that pose was where it was helpful was happening. So what we can do is grab the points, select the CVs, and then just drag over all of them, lots and lots of CVs, and we can key the selected. So that actually puts a keyframe on all those points. And then we can go to, say, frame 1, where we're going to return the shoulder to its other pose. So I'll go to frame 2, save a key, go back to frame 1, save a key on that. So for this one, we want to return the outfit to its pre-changed state. And we can show the CVs. I'll drag them all, and then just hit 0, and it zeroes them all out. And then we're also going to save or keyframe those. So now it's not moved on that first frame, and it is moved on the second frame. So we can actually fix some outfit glitches and interpenetrations that way, with either other outfit parts or with the skin. It's sort of a last resort kind of thing, but because we've got the tweak nodes in the right part of the operator stack, it will work right. Some parts of the outfit might come in as blocky like this, so like it's like the suspenders. You see it's not smooth. So if I hit 3, it'll smooth. But if it's on a layer that's sort of set to reference like this, then you can still select it if you come over here to one of these pickers and you choose all geo. Okay, so if you hit all geo, then you can just hit 1 on everything or 3 on everything, and it will be a way to get at those. You want it set to 1 when you want a rig speed, and you want to set it to 3 when you want it to be more precise and smooth. And in previous versions of Malcolm, we had a button to smooth things, and that was very different. That was actually applying a smooth operator. So I'm going to turn that on again. It's actually applying a smooth operator to the polygons. We don't do that anymore because that led to lots of problems, lots of issues in the rig, and so we recommend now not using the Maya renderer because it can't deal with unsmooth polygons. At least it won't render them smooth. But if you use the mental ray renderer or a third-party renderer, most of them can deal with. What happens is when you hit the smooth preview, and then when you hit that 3 button on your keyboard, that's what's happening. It's displaying a smoothness level of 3. And though it displays this way, it won't render this way in the Maya renderer. But that's okay. Like I said, you can use other renderers, and it will process that just fine. So you won't find that smooth button on the Malcolm 2.0 rig anymore. But that's okay. There's ways around it. But this all geo button is the way to select everything, and then you can quickly move everything to 1, and then it goes super fast. The speed is lightning fast. Or if you want to see more accuracy, you can select all geo and hit the 3 button, and you'll get everything to be smoother. The rig is still fast, and but not as fast, of course, as it was. Let's see, let's move it around here. It's pretty snappy. So the Malcolm 1.0 rig was sort of well known for being quick. Not a lot of nodes in there compared to lots of other sort of rigging philosophies, and as a result, it was a pretty fast rig. So obviously, Malcolm 2.0, there's these dozens of outfit parts, and that does slow it down somewhat over the old one, but it's still pretty snappy. And when they're hidden, then you still get a pretty good speed. So let us know what you're experiencing. We don't have the resources to field lots of questions about Malcolm 2.0 from the general public. Right now, he's used by somewhere between 15 and 20,000 people out there. At least that many people have downloaded him. So in order to ask questions about it, you need to either become a student or you can join the forums, and you can see a link to that right here on the picker. And you can ask questions about Malcolm. We'll try to get to them there. A few more issues about the arm first before I go to the face is that we try to do a better job now of handling twist situations on the upper arm, and not everything is handled. Not every situation is covered, and so there's a few different ways of dealing with that. If you do encounter a flip, and there are situations where it will flip, they're just very uncommon now, then you could come over here to this this twist, this brown one right here, this brown control, and you can rotate that and then untwist it. Not as necessary as it used to be. And there's also that upper control, the direct one, and that's a good way of untwisting things or solving twist problems, because you can sort of manually change by rotating and also scaling, what that arm is doing. So you have lots of ways to access those points through those controls. Now we'll get to the face. Let's go ahead and zoom in here, and let's go ahead and, it's fun to change his outfits. Let's go ahead and just switch him back onto Greaser, and we'll go to the face and say we'll turn off some of the features just for the Greaser. Let's see, right now he's got his worker hair on and worker beard, and then we've got the cigarette, we'll hide that, and let's turn on a different hair outfit. This one here will work. The controls of the face, there are lots and lots of controls, and a lot of people don't like to work with it. It feels cluttery for many people. There's just too much going on. That's fine. You can do various things to hide them. Like I said earlier, you can do you can hit the basic button, and then that just shows the basic set, or the most, and that's a little bit more. I'll turn them all on. There's another way though. There's this each one of these pupil controls. You've got the eye shapers, which we'll turn off, and then we have the lid shapers, which will turn off. So what those are, I'll show over here, is a very specific control over the lattice that moves this whole face. Normally you don't really need to move these because it kind of distorts the eye, and it's not super helpful. You got this one over here which moves them all, and you can actually rotate and scale that. So that's probably enough. You don't really need those micro ones. And so most of the time you want to turn those off. So you come over here and do eye shapers off. Now the lid shapers, I'd say those are a whole lot more helpful, because even though you can shape the lid this way, you might not get just the shape you want. And so those are all down here as well, and you can, those are translation controls. Although even though they're translation, they try to follow the eyeball shape, right, as best they can. And so you can use these individually over here. Now we'll start off with the eye a little bit more. So you can use translate controls for the eyes separately, and you can also do the aim for the eye. So out here in front of them, we've got this eye control over here, and this you can move too, but look at that, he's not actually looking at it, and that's because they're off. You can turn them off or on. By default they're off, and so I'll just go in here and turn them both on, aim to on. Okay, so now it's following it, but look at that, it's actually not looking right at it, it's looking off a little bit, and that's because these move on top of these. When you turn the aim on, these little ones, or the ones next to his eyes, still work. Okay, I'm gonna reset those. So you can still use these, and you can use these as well. So what you can do is, if it's like an acting shot or something, you can just set this far away in front of him and turn it on, and that way it somewhat stabilizes it. So for head orientations, his pupils are sort of going to continue looking at it. That doesn't mean that you no longer have to animate them. Of course, you're going to want to animate them very, very carefully, and for that you get these individual controls. Like I said, the picker is or the interface for his head is cluttery, but that's not really something that we spend a whole lot of time worrying about, because most people use our picker to control the face. And so because of that, most of the time we just turn those off. So if you come in here to show, and we turn off the curves, because you don't really need those to make a pose. Okay, so sometimes I toggle on the wireframe either being on or off. Okay, so those are the eye controls. There's also an eye bulge, which is a I'll show you that from the side, more from the side. It bulges the eye out of the head, so it's a very cartoony effect, and it has its limits. But if you use it within a few points, then it works somewhat. There's two different ways to scale the pupils. I can actually just hit the scale, and then the manipulator, and just scale them if you want. You can also scale only in one axis. The reason why this is helpful is because sometimes you might want to use these lattice controls up here. and you might stretch the pupil. So if you don't want that stretched, you can come and counter scale it back down again. So who likes counter animation, right? But sometimes you need to do it, and that's one way you can do it on the eyes. You can scale the whole thing, scale it non-uniformly, or you can come over here and scale just the iris or just the pupil. Okay, so you can get all kinds of strange effects with them. Make them look anime or baby here, right? With that, great eye controls. Here's the upper lid, here's the lower lid. If we zero them all out together, they go together, which is really handy. And that way, when I'm translating Y here, I'm keeping them together. And if I translate the X, I'm reshaping the eyelid and still keeping them together. That's an important feature of the rig, so that when those lids come together, well, that is handy, keeping those together. That they don't animate opposite the other, they animate together. It's something that surprises people a lot if they open the rig and they're used to setting everything to 0 to get it to 0 out. But in with this rig, you set the top lid to 1, and that zeroes that out. And the bottom lid is at 0 to zero that out. So when they're the same value, they're closed, which is really handy for shaping and for overall use. You can also animate the sides a little bit. Sometimes you want to do that during a blink, and the outer sides a little bit. The Malcolm rig has a wide range of motion, so it's designed to really crank the heck out of things. So you can open the eye very, very widely, and it still sort of works. You can also scale the eye. So if you come over here to past this one right here, you've got this controls the lid here. This one isn't really designed to be scaled, it's designed to be rotated if you wanted to rotate it all together. And the one out further here is designed to be rotated for sure, but mostly this is for scaling. So if you want to really pop the eye out, you could do that. Going back to the top and lower lid, I was showing how you can shape it by using the x-axis. This is how you sort of angle it for these kinds of poses. The brow up, quizzical or sad, wondering, and if you want to go the other way with him angry, but not enough to block the eyelid, then you'd want to go the other way. You'd want to translate it that way. Seeing you'd have the eyelids and the brows kind of doing the same thing to the shape of the eye. Each one of the features, and most of these for Malcolm 2.0 were touched and improved so that there's wider range of motion. But each one of them is tested to a pretty wide range of motion, so you can go very, very high and very, very low on a lot of the controls, and it will hold up. And that's to have them be very expressive. So in actual use, sometimes I move this up and I move these up or down, and then I move these up so that you can quickly select, maybe just the mids, maybe just the ends. So that's like a common thing I do. It's okay to just move the picker buttons wherever you want. And I personally don't like it when the eyelid clips the pupil like that. So you normally want to bring that up a little bit using the X, or you might want to come down here to these individual controls and move them slightly to clear the pupil. That's one thing you can do for better posing. So there's the beginnings of a pose there. And I'll move on to the mouth and such. So there are lots and lots of controls on the mouth, of course, right? The main one is called jaw, and this one is designed to be rotated, but you can also translate it as well to, do different things with it. There's lots of things that go on under the hood with the jaw open. It actually does reshaping of the jaw line so that it looks better than the default. So you might notice if you just drag the mouth down, then the mouth's going to look very strange. So normally you want to rotate. You can also rotate in various angles, not just the up and down. And that allows you to sort of bend the face. That's the main control. There's also this thing called jaw rot. Just like the shoulders, you can. It's not a pure rotation when you use the jaw. It drops it. It's translating it and rotating it. But if you ever wanted a pure rotation, then you can use the jaw rot. So the Malcolm rig is sort of unique in that sense that lots and lots of ways to access the same area. And that's not to confuse you or to overwhelm you. It's just that sometimes for that professional level of polish, you need lots and lots of access to different things. And different controls have different overlapping areas of influence. And sometimes you need one that has slightly different overlapping area of influence. There's one called the chin, and that's to make his chin smaller. So you can actually reshape his face a little bit that way. And what I showed earlier, where you can grab these points on his face and actually change the look of his face to some degree with the tweak node. And some people will use that editing of the tweak node to reshape Malcolm to look like another character. Recommend staying away from the mouth because it's such a high deformation area and the lids, but other than that, you can reshape his nose quite a bit. You can use the rig also to reshape his nose because most everything is scalable. So just by a quick scale of the nose and different axes, you can change his look quite a bit. And that doesn't require any sort of specialized knowledge to do that one scale and then keep it on through the whole animation. Then you've got a different look for him. Going back to the mouth, we've got the chin here. There's also the mentalis, and what this is the area right below, and this is great for when you're crying. You've got that muscle down there that sort of pushes upward, and you can push it outward and upward, and maybe even scale it to simulate that muscle that's down there that happens when you've got certain kinds of tension in your face, like when you're crying. These ones on the side are kind of the main ones for changing the face. Okay, go from a smile to the frown, from wide to narrow, and the U shape. They also create this nasolabial fold that runs from the edge of the nose into the mouth, and you can crease that up even further, make him look older, basically, if you turn this nasal crease up. Or you can turn it down and try to flatten it out. It's the amount that's in there right now is designed to kind of look fleshy, like he's 20-something years old, and you can change that if you want. Corner pinch in and out, that's to seal the corner of the lips. This is one example of where Malcolm has sort of overlapping areas. You can actually use these individual controls right here. You can drag them up, drag this one down, drag this one up, drag this one down slightly, drag this one up slightly, and seal the mouth that way. Or just just undo that. Or I can use these are blend shape based. So I can seal them out the corner that way, and then maybe this one a slight bit. And that is nice because when I animate the jaw, it will sort of turn on more when the jaw is more open and turn off when the jaw isn't. So it's a good way to kind of seal the lips. And let's go ahead and give him a little bit of a slight smile on the other side. And for that highly tuned 2D look, oftentimes you want that other side of the mouth that's wrapped around the face to suck in even more. And so that's when you use this thing right here. It's called lip corner skin, right and left. And those, you can just drag that in and see how you get sort of that emphasized dimensionality around his face. And so without it, it looks like that. With it, you can tuck it in even further. And it's a good way to control the silhouette. From there, so going back to these guys, these corner controls, something that's not very common in lots of rigs is you've actually got the ability to rotate them. And this has been rigged from Malcolm 1.0 to be a little more robust. It's that you can rotate it and create angled. So it doesn't work that great when he's smiling, going the other way, but so we go down to a more neutral. We can change it from smile. We can sort of like add a little twist at the end of the mouth pose. This is something that you can, if I just zero that out, this is something that you can do also just by using the last controllers on the mouth. But like I said, there are kind of multiple ways to get at things, and that's because mouth posing is just so particular. You might want it to look just slightly different, and all these different ways of accessing the same area allow you to do that in a way that a more simple rig doesn't. Let's see, control lip corner top left. Okay, so what these are is when the mouth is open and not sealed together, it grows the distance between the controls on the face. And so you might find that the distance between this one and the next one is too great. If you want even finer control, you use this one and this one. And those are that sort of individual, very fine control. You don't really use this kind of thing unless the mouth is very open and you've lost control, very fine control of that corner. These controls are not exactly on top of the lip corner right now. It's there are controls that can do that, but it does slow down the rig, so we just have them be nearby, and that's close enough to what we want. All right, so let's go around the mouth. Then these are sort of the main controls for controlling that shape of the mouth. And then the one that's slightly different color is for the middle, right? Coming around the other side, and then down to the corner where we have, like I said, more density of controllers. We've got the one that moves the whole corner as a big blend shape. We've got that one I showed you down here, which kind of moves, this is free control, not a blend shape, but a transform, so you can do anything you want with it, including scaling it, including rotating it. And you've got the individual controls here, and if you want, even the more finer controls. In addition, you've got the ability to just move the top lip as a whole, or just move the lower lip as a whole. It's the same as grabbing all of these controls on the bottom. It's just it grabs them all as a hierarchy altogether. But they're still useful, and they do something else too, which is if you rotate them, it actually creates a blend shape. And this blend shape is to create a nice F shape, and if you roll it out, it's to create like an U shape. So I'll go back to the top, roll it out, this creates an U shape, in creates like an M shape, and let's go ahead and roll this one in, and then of course we want to close the mouth a little bit, and that creates that F shape, or the beginning of that F shape with that rotation. In addition, there's this one over on the right. It's called Control Lip All, and that's to move the entire mouth down, up or down, or whatever. like most controls, they actually rotate and control and scale as well. All right. So those are the controls of the mouth, and there are lots of them, but they all do different things. And if you look at these different selection buttons here, will select different groups of them, and you can certainly make your own as well. The one you use most is this one here that selects both of the two corner controls. Let's not forget the very important attributes in the jaw. And the first one is jaw stretch. And this is a lattice over the whole bottom half of the face, slightly into the upper half as well. But this is if you go from a jaw open shape to a compression shape, you can sort of lattice up the face and get it to be really stretchy. You can create squash and stretch on it. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the key button here, and that should save a keyframe on pretty much all the controls for the whole rig. So if I go back to here, I could actually kind of, let's say I want to select the head, and I could do reset, and that will take it all back, and then that will take it all to 0. See that the lids got set to 0, and if I want those set to the same as when you open it, then I have to set them to 1. And actually, look at the pupils look cross-eyed, and that's partly because that's the way they look when they come in, and partly because when this thing is actually not posed. So that is the default way they come in, but only when they're zeroed out. Actually, when you reference in the Malcolm rig, he has a slight values on his pupils just so he doesn't look cross-eyed. All right, so we'll take him back here. Now we've got keyframes on. Another thing we can do is to make the face fleshy is to use control head bottom and control head top, and these are mostly for stretching and for slight scaling. And he's got that really long neck, and sometimes that long neck and the transition from the jaw is just too awkward, and sometimes you want to massage that when he's in a certain pose, like to have better flow. So what we can do is grab that, say the lower one, and sort of rotate it so it just flows more, flows better with the neck, and doesn't have like a big change. And you can just use that to create a look that's more like a drawing and less like a static CG model that's not necessarily going to give you some piece of art. So the top one as well, maybe you want to have a slight rotation on it. And these are the kind of things you don't want to actually notice. You just want to sort of craft a nice, beautiful pose with it. But if the audience ever actually sees it getting into that sort of warped pose, it probably isn't something that you want. But the ability is there. You also have the squelch attribute, and that's for squash and stretch on the face. It wouldn't really apply to a pose like this, but in compression poses, it's great. Same with the bottom. You can scale as well as translate and rotate. And so between all those transforms, you can get most anything that you want. And so I'll go ahead and go to a different, let's see, key. We'll go to a different keyframe here. We also have the nose controls, so I can translate the nose up or down. Like I showed earlier, I can scale the nose, or I can rotate the nose so that it's angling slightly. Those are all useful, and but most of the time you want to use the sides of the nose. So if you translate them up, you're going to get a sneer, and if you translate them out, you're going to get like a flared nostril. So you can use some combination of those to create various effects. I'm going to come back down to the mouth and show you just a few more features. I showed you how you can rotate, but I didn't show you the puffs and the thicknesses. So for this one, I'll go back to the default. And so if I go to puff, see this is for kind of filling it with air. These are the mid top and mid bottom puff. I can create that puff look, and then if I grab the cheeks next, I could also puff them out. In addition, I can these cheeks are actually free transform, so I can scale them, I can move them, rotate them, and whatever. So between these puffs, I can do quite a bit of shaping and posing. I'm going to go ahead and grab the lids and zero them out, and I'm going to translate them up a little bit so I can puff them all together. Maybe I want to grab the brows and then press those down so I have a compression shape. Then maybe I want to come to the jaw and do a jaw stretch, so it's sort of like showing that compression even more. Maybe I'll go to a different keyframe here and key it. And so that's how I can use some of the features of that control lip mid top, including those puffs. So I'm going to come back over here and I'm going to select the head and then reset. And oh, actually, I'll also have to reset the puffs. Okay, so those are zeroed out, and then I'll zero out the top lids. There's still some things moved here. Let's see, this moved. Let's see, he's no longer in the default pose on the side. Oh, it's because this thing might not be properly in the right set, so I'll have to check that. So that's the puff. So I'll show you a couple more. There's the mid. Well, there's the funnel, which is kind of swings out. So this is a roll on the lips. And what this is good for is if you were to create like an ooh shape, bring the corners together, and then maybe open the mouth. You see, I still have that. The pinch on, right? So I can turn those on. We'll go off with those. Well, maybe I'll go ahead and seal those just a little bit, and then show you how I can use that. I can roll the lips outward or inward, and then for the bottom one, remember how I could create like an F shape, or I could roll it out. Now the funnel is slightly different. It's to sort of create a more a wider, broader shape. And the mid. So most of the time, let me focus on the funnel shapes and those ooh shapes. So there are lots of cool ways to make a good ooh shape with this rig, and I'll just show a couple of them. I will let's see. Next thing, maybe want to move this back like that, create a better profile, and then I'll roll this out. But sometimes rolling it out just further just kind of like shears it and creates a strange look. So instead, what you can do is you can actually translate it out, and that does some cool things. I'm going to translate the top, and then I'm going to rotate it as far as it looks good, but then I'm going to stop once it starts looking a little strange. And then I'll come over here to the pinch. Maybe I'll give it some more pinch. We'll create a nice exaggerated ooh shape. Another thing you do with the Malcolm rig is to come over here to the control lip all and move it all out. Now I can sort of create an ooh with a projection off the face that creates the dimensionality that's so fun with 3D animation. Okay, so this is a good way to build an ooh shape with all these controls. All right, so I'm going to come back here and zero out a lot of these controls. I'll do head. I'm going to reset plus adder. And looks like we have a neck rotation in there, so I'll zero that out. And come back to the face. And to here. And key that. So we've covered a lot of the controls. Now I want to see if I've left anything off. Okay, a couple things. There's the mid, which seems to be broken at the moment. Look into that. I think, let's see. Yeah, okay, I'll look into that. That'll probably be working by the time you see this. Peak is, what this is sometimes you want a mouse shape that has a little bit of a, I don't know, like a widow's peak kind of a shape. And it's really hard to do with the existing controls because the middle ones are very broad, like they control this big broad area. They don't get too fine because normally you don't have a need for very fine controls in the middle of the lip. You do a lot of rolling, you do have pressure, you do a lot of in and out, but not that very fine control. So that's what that is for, to create that little that shape right like there. If you wanted to add that into your character, that's how you do that, your animation. We showed puff, but there's also press, which is somewhat like puff, but it sort of presses the lips down together. And then there's thickness. What thickness does is it creates bigger lips. See, I can create the bigger lip on the bottom, the top, and also the bottom. And then also we can project them outwards. So I'm going to select them both, and I can do the Z, and that moves them outward or inward. So it's a good way to sort of customize the look. By default, like I said, is eyeball is out. I think it's 0.15. And that makes them look not quite so cross-eyed. Those are those attributes. I think I've gone over all these. Oh, there's one more to show, which is corner height. And it's rather obscure, but what that is if you're moving the jaw and the corner is up or down, it will follow the jaw. But corner height will cause it to follow less or more the movements of the jaw. Most of the time, you don't need to worry about that. Auto pucker, disable auto pucker. That means that when those sides come together, you're pushing the lips into a pucker shape. If you don't want that to happen, then you can say disable auto pucker, and that will turn off. It will create less of a pucker. And the reason you might want to do that is sometimes you want to press the or bring the side of the mouth far over without creating that big pucker. All right. There's also cheek controls. I showed you the cheek controls for the middle of the face and how you got the puff, but you've also got the controls all over, for scaling and rotating and translating. But you've also got the cheek controls for the upper part of the face. And that's these right here. And what that is sort of the border between the cheek and the lower eyelid. So again, you've got scale control, you've got translate control, which is mostly what you use. Let's go ahead and give him a little sneer and a little nose flare. There's an attribute here called nose brow crunch, and that's to kind of bring up the brow and meet it with the brow coming down, move up the nose. Moving up the face, we've added a few new features to the brow. You can now scale in Y the brow, two of the brow controls to get a thickened look here, and also to the middle. Not to the outside, but you've got these two. And you've also got rotation controls for those as well. So you can create that furrowed look if you want. You can ignore these green ones up here. Those are for his hair, but only for the hairstyle that isn't currently showing. Sort of like the old default hair. Same with that one right here. We talked about these and about these, but these down here are for his teeth. So if we go back to the open shape, open mouth shape, sometimes maybe his teeth are intersecting. You can either move the lips. So I can take the lip control and move it outward. That would be one thing we could do. Or I could take the controls of the teeth and move those inward. The teeth are very simple looking. It's just like a single bar. That's for, you know, a certain cartoony look. But you can certainly scale these and move them up around and create a slight bend in the mouth if you want. And the ones lastly on the face is the tongue control. So with a tongue you can you know, move it, the whole base of it, but most of it is designed for the rotation, so rotating it. But you've also got the ability to scale, you know, the tongue as a whole. So if you want to create a scaled look on those as well. His ears are pretty self-explanatory. You just got one at the base, and you have another, and that one can be rotated, scaled, or translated. And we have one a little bit further up for sort of follow through and drag for the body. Another feature of the body is the elbows. So if I are using IK on the arms, then I can use this elbow pin feature. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that IK on for the arm, and then I can use the elbow pin feature. And what that's going to do is going to pin it to wherever the pull vector is. So we want to bring the pull vector in to about where it would be normally. So I'm going to turn it off and bring that pull vector in. It's going to point to it always, but if you want, you can also get it to lock to it. And that's good if the elbow needs to stick against something like a desk, like the top of a desk or something. And that way, when you are moving his body, the elbow is not going to move as well. It's going to stay put. So what you do is you animate this, and then you animate the shoulder to sort of counter and get a similar length as it was before. But this way, the elbow will be completely locked at all times. And then you just use the IK for the lower. And that's the same with the elbow. You can also pin the knees for him to be able to be up against the ground on his knees. And I'm just going to go ahead and go back to FK on the arms. So even though this is a more advanced rig with many more parts, it still runs pretty quickly. If we go ahead and hide the set, we'll see what kind of speeds we're getting here. All right, so you know, maybe 6 to 7 frames per second. If we want to speed that up, we can go ahead and select so all geo, and then hit the 1, and that's going to sort of res it all down. Now, so we're going to get much better speeds now, but the eyes look a little strange, so that's why there's a separate button for the eyes. If we say just the eyes, maybe we want to res those up by themselves, and then we'll get a quicker speed. So these speeds are pretty good. It says 8, but it feels like it's a little smoother than that. If we hide the other character, we'll probably get increased speeds as well. So it looks like we can get up to about 13 on this particular computer. And I hope you've enjoyed this tour of the Malcolm 2.0 rig, and we're happy to provide most of him free to the community, and we hope that you enjoy it, and we're excited always to see all the great work coming out of the community with the Malcolm rig.